State Senator Becca joins us again this week to discuss developments in the Massachusetts Senate. I asked her about Governor Charlie Baker's decision to extend his stay-at-home order 2 weeks to now May 18th. Senator Roush, let me begin by asking you your thoughts on the governor's announcement this week that the stay-at-home advisory has been extended from May 4th to May 18th.
I think it's a good decision. We clearly do not yet have a comprehensive handle on this pandemic, on this virus. We still don't have sufficient testing. We don't really know how we're going to curtail the spread other than physical social distancing. So I think we do need to stay closed for a while. Also, schools and early education, childcare is all shut down through the end of June. Right, schools are not in person for the remainder of the calendar year, and early ed is shut down until the end of the month of June. So we really can't put businesses back to work, right, workers back to work until we have childcare in place. And it's, I'm a parent of younger kids. It's way more difficult to make sure that kids are keeping their distance and wearing a face mask and all those other things than it is for adults to keep that in check.
That being said, I know the governor did mention that he would look at, because originally he said childcare centers closed until I believe June 29th, but that is something he will have to take a look at. Do you see down the road, and that's the important 3 words to remember, down the road, childcare centers opening, but with limitations?
I'm not sure. It's certainly a big conversation. I am, advocating to make sure that our early education industry, it is an industry because it has been so heavily privatized, that industry is in fact able to reopen. And I think no one really knows what that is going to look like, but we need to be able to protect our children. We need to be able to protect the amazing teachers and administrators of all of those centers, right? And that's not an easy thing to do. And frankly, we need to be able to also protect the families of all those children. And in many cases, we have multi-generational families living together under the same roof. So while statistically speaking, the impacts of the coronavirus in terms of serious health ramifications have largely not fallen on our youth, although we have had a number of very serious cases in children. The disproportionate impact in terms of the serious health ramifications have fallen on our seniors. And when we have kids going to daycare and living in multi-generational homes, that becomes a very serious problem. So it's complicated, as is frankly everything in this particular moment.
The State House continues to operate, people working from home. Mm-hmm. There are now 2 months remaining in this current fiscal year. The new fiscal year kicks off on July 1st. The budget process is very complicated, always goes down to the last minute. You guys pulled not quite all-nighters, but pretty close to it that week. I know there's been talking about allowing the House and Senate to vote remotely. From what I understand, someone squashed that in the House. Now, if the House votes no, can the Senate still vote remotely? Because to me, it's common sense.
So, this too is a little bit nuanced. Yes, the House and Senate operate independently of each. We can't pass anything into law, obviously, without working together. 2 chambers, 1 legislature. But we each operate under our own independent chamber rules. So the Senate is in fact working on a set of rules to proceed with formal session. That effort is led by Senate Majority Leader Cindy Cream. It is a bipartisan working group that includes the Minority Leader, Senator Bruce Tarr, and that group is getting underway now with an eye toward remote session or some kind of, no one knows really not what that's going to look like, but some method of being able to proceed with something that kind of more closely resembles a formal session, hopefully in late May or early June. What unfolded in the House, honestly, I'm not quite sure what the point of contention was between the Democratic leadership and the Republican minority leadership, but there clearly was something that people were unhappy about. The original proposal from the House had a pretty significant increase in the number of people that would be required to support a roll call vote. So people were unhappy with that. That did change in the process and went back down to its usual 10% of the body, which is 16 individuals supporting a roll call, right? That's how you get a vote on the record. Um, it's a complicated set of things to figure out, or phoning it in, having to phoning in your vote effectively is part of that plan, or at least the proposed plan. Having to request in advance to speak, that's often not how debate unfolds, right? Sometimes it is, right? You go into session normal, knowing that you're going to speak to a particular topic, but sometimes something happens and you have to talk, right, for whatever reason, and which is of course the nature of debate. So maybe it was something along those lines. I'm honestly not sure. But each chamber will need to figure this out, because we do have to pass a budget. We have a RANS bill that we need to pass from the state treasurer Goldberg, to be able to take care of some of our budgetary issues in the immediate future. And that vote needs to be done by a roll call. So we have to figure out how to do that.
May 1st not only marks 2 months before the start of a new fiscal year, it also marks exactly 4 months to the September primary. You have filed a bill along with a colleague in the House to allow mail-in voting. Take us through the steps. Has anything happened on that?
Well, the Senate version of the bill has been assigned to the Elections Committee. The House version of the bill has a longer period where it waits to be assigned to a committee because of what's known as the co-sponsorship period. This is one of the differences between the House and the Senate. On a Senate bill, any legislator can co-sponsor at any time up until the bill has been acted on by the committee. So until the Elections Committee does something with the Senate bill, reports it favorably, reports it adversely, sends it to study, anybody can sign on and co-sponsor. In the House, there's a specific period of time, usually a week or two, and that's the only co-sponsorship period. So that co-sponsorship period, when it's over, that's when the bill gets assigned. We've also heard, since you and I last spoke last week, that Secretary Galvin will be filing his own bill. So we'll have another bill in the mix, and I'm not sure exactly when he will be filing that proposal. But we've heard sort of early May. I'm not quite sure whether that means next week or the following week, but time is of the essence, and I think everybody agrees on that. So we need to move on this. So I'm looking forward to that hearing. I've heard a lot of really, really great support for universal automatic vote by mail, which is the proposal in the 2020 Vote by Mail Act that I drafted and filed, including from our Attorney General and a number of people who are close with elections. And frankly, we're kind of getting an insight as to what an opt-in system would look like, because we are in the midst of local elections right now, like town elections, and there is an opt-in system available for that. And also we have 2 special elections in the Senate and a special election in the House going on to replace individuals who left because they won local elections in 2019 races. And so we're going to have a little bit of data on our hands, which is always useful.
What else would you like to leave residents from your cities or in your cities and towns?
Yeah, I say this, I think, every week, but it's tough. We are in, I feel like, 10 marathons all stacked up on each other. The reporting that is coming out of DPH has become increasingly robust. So if you are somebody who looks for data in a moment and wants to see the numbers, you can go to mass.gov/COVID-19. They have a daily dashboard that gives you all the numbers broken down, bar graphs, all sorts of interesting ways to visualize and comprehend and sort of analyze that data. So head over there. Plenty of resources. I'm heartened to see people in our communities donating food and supporting neighbors, and all sorts of wonderful stuff happening, even in this truly awful state that we are all in. So hang tight. My website is beccarauschma.com/COVID-19. You can get all of our updates there. We do continue to have virtual office hours every other Friday for 2 hours. You can go to BeccaRouchMA.com/office hours, office-hours, and sign up for a 15-minute slot. And that doesn't necessarily pertain just to COVID-19. In fact, almost everyone with whom we have spoken in office hours um, has had something that had nothing to do with the pandemic, because all those problems that previously existed just, they didn't evaporate. They're all still there. Call, email. We are here for you. Hang in. We're obviously in for a long, bumpy ride. I will add that I personally have been doing a lot of work on remote town meeting and figuring out how town meetings are going to be able to go forward in a remote way. So there's a lot of creativity and innovation and detailed work happening in the legislature.
Well, as always, Senator, thank you so much, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you very much, Peter. Always great to be with you.